Hello, guys. Welcome to another episode of the e-commerce lab by Ecomcy, the place where everything related to Amazon, FBA, parallel, and e-commerce. My name is Vincenzo Toscano, your host, founder, and CEO of Ecomcy. And today we bring you once more Justin Chen, a close friend of the Ecomcy family here. He's the co-founder of Pickfu, which is an amazing service overall when it comes to helping you understand what are the best things around your brand, like what testing, split testing, the demography, the images, packaging, and so much more. And actually, they have a lot of things new into basically the tools that they offer, specifically around the AI, and that everybody's talking about AI now. And I can't wait to see how Pickfu now is implementing this into the mix because they're really doing an amazing job. So let's see how AI now can enhance that even further. Justin, it's a pleasure to have you here on the show. So thank you for coming. How you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me, Vincenzo.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. So this one is the second time that we have you here on the show. And as I said just now, I think I'm looking forward to see how Pickfu now is bringing AI into the mix. Because I feel like, and I bet every single time now that you open LinkedIn or any single social media platform, the only thing people talks about is AI. Seems like
For
everybody
sure.
now is an expert around AI. So I think people is gonna find very interesting now how we can use the consumer insights that Pickfu give us to leverage the data even further. However, before we jump into that, because I know we get new listeners and people into the community on a weekly basis, maybe you can just give us a quick insight about what is Pickfu, and then of course we can jump on the AI side of things about how Pickfu is integrating that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So Pickfu's a easy to use consumer research tool that helps you crowdsource feedback on any aspect of your product. So it could be as early as idea validation or maybe product concepts that you're thinking about selling, to branding and packaging and logos, all the way to your marketing assets. So maybe your main image or your marketing copy, kind of anything that you want to get feedback on before you launch it or before you invest a lot of time or money. So we have a panel of people that we tap into. We pay them to respond to these micro surveys. So the very simple questions like which product would you buy, which one would you click on? You could just ask a question like that, upload a few assets, and we'll immediately go find these people to vote on which one they like and give a written explanation why. And that's actually where you find a lot of the values, that qualitative feedback. And it's all very fast. A lot of times polls are done in 15 minutes, 30 minutes. So really actionable and quick feedback. You could target people in the US. We have people in Australia, Canada, the UK, Germany, and we're launching Mexico and Japan soon. So super exciting.
Interesting. Wow. Looking forward to that. And by the way, I know people might be curious about this one. Maybe you can give us some insights about what is really this thing that you just mentioned, which is consumer insights, about how we can utilize this, because I bet there are so many different areas that we can tap into. And I mean, maybe you can give us some quick examples about some applications. So maybe it's around the main images, maybe it's around packaging. So what are some of the main things you will say Pickfu is used when it comes to specific for Amazon and e-commerce sellers to leverage this?
Yeah. So the most popular use case and the thing that most people know us for is testing main images, because I think most people come to us when they're trying to improve their performance on Amazon. And the most obvious thing would be to improve your main image so you get a better click-through rate. So what people will do is they'll come and they'll write a question like, if you were buying a teapot on Amazon, which one would you buy? You put up your main image. You could put up your competitors' main images or a few of your competitors' main images and then see which one they click on. And then you'll understand why, because everyone's going to give an explanation why. And maybe they'll say, oh, the layout of this one is better. And that might be your competitors. Maybe you want to try a different layout. You can then take that feedback and then work with your designer to create a few new variations of your own main image. So, hey, why don't we try laying out all the product inclusions? Why don't we change the angle? Why don't we zoom in? And then you could run that poll again of just your own variations. Try to find like the best version of your own. Then at the end of that process, retest it against your competitors to make sure that you're actually going to improve against them. Because at the end of the day, it is a competitive marketplace and you do need to validate those changes against competitors. So that's probably the most common way we see people using it is on that main image. Unfortunately, what happens is people will test their main image, and a lot of the responses will actually say, "Oh, I don't like the branding. I don't like your packaging.
Yeah.
I think your design is bad."
And
And so
that's
then that
discouraging.
point, yeah. So that points to, oh, you really should have gathered this feedback earlier in the process, right? And so that's
Yeah.
where we see a lot of our savvier customers doing this kind of testing early in the process, even before they've committed to
Mm.
even selling the product, right? We all have a
Maybe
ton
doing
of
like a
ideas.
3D rendering. I guess doing like a
Exactly.
3D rendering of
Yes, a
how the
lot of
product would look like, right? Yeah.
3D rendering. You could, if you're just sourcing product, you could get images from different manufacturers.
Hmm.
We've even seen people do napkin sketches, like whatever it is, right? You're just trying to get early feedback. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, because we all have so many ideas of like things that we want to sell, and they're not all worth going after if you're not even going to do well in the marketplace. So a lot of idea validation, of course, branding, logos, names, like that kind of stuff, I think is really important, because in Amazon, while people don't search for the brand, they do use branding as like a tiebreaker sometimes. And so you want to make sure your brand doesn't just sound like a cheap knockoff, right? Like you want it to sound like
Yeah,
something.
I know.
And the more you can do brand story around it, like you're going to get more repeat business and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we're starting to see a lot more people testing up and down the entire product lifecycle. Packaging is super important, underrated, especially if you're going to go into
Yeah.
retail eventually. But even
Hmm.
on the main image, if you have good packaging, that's free advertising space, right? And so,
Yeah.
naturally, first include the packaging in your main image. Even better is design your main packaging with interesting information, and make it very clear and
Yeah.
easy to read from the main image. So a lot of different ways people use it. Of course, it could be text as well. So it could be bullet points,
Hmm.
features, that kind of stuff. So it doesn't always have to be images, but it is kind of our most popular thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, possibilities are endless, and I think the more clever way of using Pickfu, and I know this from people that share case studies and everything, is pro research, because
Yeah.
imagine how much money and time you save by realizing product is not really what people in
Yeah.
that specific niche want, right? And you buying thousands of units, and just because you think you like it, people is gonna like, the actual market is gonna like, and then you realize, as you say, you put all this time and effort, and then when you do the poll, like everybody hates the product, and it's too late, right? So
Yes.
nothing you can do now.
Yeah,
And
and one of
that,
the other in the product selections phase, like maybe you've already decided you're going to sell something, and it's like
mhm,
diaries or something, and then color variations, another important way, right? Variations of color, or maybe of their print patterns. A lot of products are kind of like have these different variations, and I think most people just assume like, oh well, I want to sell 5 colors, I'm going to
mhm,
stock all 5 colors,
which
which
is
is
very
crazy,
valuable.
right? And you're gonna have all this unsold inventory. You're gonna have to fire sale some of it, and that's why you see some colors are half the price, right? Because people
I
are
know.
have all this unsold. So you want to avoid that, right? So you can test that ahead of time and say like, all right, no one wants this green umbrella or whatever it is, right? So you're gonna save yourself a lot of money. Save yourself a lot of money.
Yeah, and I think something that is very important to mention as well is that, of course, at the beginning you were mentioning that you have community from the US, Australia, and so on, but
Mm-hmm.
you can go very granular on these
That's right.
basically regions, because you can choose like the type of interest they have, like if they're a
That's right.
parent or they're a pet owner and things like that. And I think that can be even I mean, that is super important, because again, you're gonna get completely different results if you target a
Mm-hmm.
random market, right? That only pet owners, if you're gonna sell a pet specific product, which is realistically the opinion that you want to understand if that specific pet accessory is gonna be likable or not on that specific niche, right? So
Yeah,
you have
for
a lot of
sure.
control
Yeah,
on that,
a
right?
lot a lot of interesting behavioral targeting, pets,
Mm-hmm.
nutritional supplements, cosmetics, tea, coffee, alcohol, kind of a lot of the popular things that buyer personas that people are targeting on the marketplaces. And if there's something on there or if there's something that's not on there, definitely let us know and we can look into building it. But I have
Awesome.
a free examples I could show later that dial into some of this targeting and how you could use it in your product process.
Yeah. Yeah, in fact, something that I also like about Pickford, I want to bring to our listeners and the ones that are watching, is that I also like the fact that you guys basically it's like a must that all the reviewers have to really leave a long comment, because I
Yes,
have the experience in the past with other services that they say yes or no, but that doesn't really mean anything, right? You really want to understand why they're against your idea or not. And I
exactly.
guess that is gonna type a little bit down the line in this episode on how I guess you can use even AI to leverage the opinions of people to really summarize an opinion around what people really think, that is common sense around your offering, right? That you
Yes,
want to
that's
bring
right.
to the market.
Yep.
Yeah. So now, when it comes to all this data, I think now, in fact, we can use this opportunity to open the conversation so we can start bringing AI into the equation here. Is of course, when even myself and people I know, we use a Pick. For one of the difficult things in the past that you had this amazing amount of data, but sometimes it's difficult to really put all this together and generate a summary of what is the action I need to take on how do I go from here. And I guess that's one of the newest features you guys are bringing to the system, I guess, to really allow your clients to leverage that data even further, right?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I think real consumer sentiment plays an important role in
Mhm.
AI workflows, right? So like we're all using AI to generate a lot of content now. So first of all, I think it's important to remember that humans are buying your product. Humans are the consumers of whatever you're trying to do. So it is important to make sure that you gather human sentiment on
Mhm.
whatever it is. Like AI makes it easy to generate a lot of stuff, but you should still get feedback from humans. But what AI is also really great at is synthesizing a lot of data and kind of summarizing it, bucketing it, and that's what we're using it for. So, like you said, we focus on high quality written responses. So
Mhm.
everyone has to explain why they chose
Mhm.
something. And we really focus a lot of effort internally on making sure that people do keep that quality bar high. And that allows us to have a lot of content to work with. So um, I have a few examples here.
Yeah.
So one example is and something that I think more people should do with Pickfu is actually asking open-ended questions about from their
Okay.
persona. So
Okay.
in this example, I targeted US tea drinkers, right? So maybe I'm,
Okay.
selling a teapot. The question I ask is, as a tea drinker, what are some of the issues you have with existing equipment? What could improve your tea drinking
Mm,
experience? And so
nice.
a lot of interesting responses here. I only did 15, but I could do 50, 100, 200,
Yeah.
500, and you can imagine if I did 200 responses, I wouldn't want to read through all of
Wow.
these things.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So some of these are really long, like let's see, inconsistent water temperature. Achieving the water temperature is crucial for different types of teas. I would like a
Mhm.
better cup. I need a finer mesh filter. So a lot of detailed things. So the first thing we do actually is now every poll includes an automated executive summary that we use AI
Nice.
for. So you can take a look at that first before reading into all this detailed responses. But if we click on the AI highlights tab, we also have a couple of other things. So one is an AI sentiment, which breaks out likes and dislikes. And since this is only a single open-ended question, we only have
Mhm.
likes and dislikes. But if we have multiple options, we'll do it for each option. Um,
Okay.
and then the more fun thing is this open prompt, which is kind of like ChatGPT, but talking to your poll results. So basically, we feed all the
Oh,
results into the AI, and now you can ask it questions. So here are some examples I did. I had a prompt of pretend you're a savvy product designer and successful Amazon seller.
okay.
What kind of teapot should I design to address all these concerns? And so it says
Okay.
things like, oh, make sure you have a fine mesh filter, temperature control, easy cleaning, a date indicator, fast boiling. So a lot of interesting things basically synthesized from the results of the people. Um, and so this is a great combining of AI and human, right? Because it's based on relevant real-time human feedback, right? Like these are people that we just asked,
Mhm.
and then we're asking AI to use that data instead of, kind of using its broad base,
I
base of
know. I
knowledge, which
know.
is always dangerous, right? Because you don't know where it's getting that data. It might be hallucinating. It might just be
Yeah.
making stuff up. So when we box the context, so like, all right, well, these are the people I care about, right? These are U.S. tea drinkers,
Nice.
or great, UK tea drinkers, or whatever it is. It's going to be a lot more useful AI results.
Very good.
Um,
And let me ask you about this AI. I guess one of the nice things as well, maybe you can help us confirm this. Will this only use the insights that we're getting from the community that in this case we're purchasing these 50 to 100 people? Or is AI also using some leverage from external data to help us make this decision based on trends? Like, is that something AI considers, or is a closed loop at the moment when it comes to what we get? Yeah.
yeah, I mean, if you ask a question that kind of allows it to tap
Mhm.
into things,
Open
like it
up.
will use like its broader knowledge.
Nice.
But if you kind of specifically ask it to, like, here's an example. I said group the results and summarize them in a few bullet points, and
Mm-hmm.
it knows that I'm referring to these results as opposed to like drawing from the knowledge. In some cases, if you say like um, maybe you ask it to like, well, come up with, even when it's asking, even when it's coming up with new ideas, like it's probably going to draw
That's right.
from,
Yeah.
its broader base of knowledge. But if you scope
Yeah.
it to say like, hey, give me a frequency count of these things, like it's only going to use the
Mm-hmm.
results.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's important because sometimes AI can help you think outside the box, and sometimes are
Yes.
things that
Yeah.
normal people we don't think, and AI somehow measures to manage to find this data for us. And if we combine that new idea with what people is telling us, we can come up with a better product overall, right?
Yeah.
Which in fact, will you then say with this new tool, and I'm asking this because if people want to start using Pick, maybe they have this concern that the more people we actually bring into rapport, then I guess the more accurate would be the insights in some sense because we have more data, I guess, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be more comprehensive the more data you have.
Okay.
So in this case,
Okay.
like, there's only 15 responses, so not as many ideas,
Yeah.
or not as much concentration in certain ones, right? So maybe there's one who mentioned something really interesting, but since it was the only person, it doesn't get as much emphasis in the analysis. So I think it still helps to have 50 or 100 responses, but these were just kind of example ones that I did 15.
Very good. Okay. And besides this case study, I guess you have other case studies as well
Yeah, let me just
regarding.
see what
Okay,
other
nice. Mhm.
let me see what other ones are interesting.
Nice.
So I kind of went down this progression. I was working on a presentation a couple months ago,
Sure.
and um, I really like this idea of like starting from the beginning. Like we talked about brand before, and one of the questions I
Mm-hmm.
then asked was like, what values and emotions should a kitchen and home goods brand evoke? Because maybe I want to go
Mm-hmm.
into teapots. I want to create like an
Yeah,
overarching brand. Um,
that's
and
right.
this is something that a market research company would, or a large CPG company would do, right? Because they would go to a focus group, they would talk to people, they would say like, what are you looking for in a home goods product? And
Nice.
so a lot of the responses are saying things like motherliness, homeliness, comfort, quality, family value. So not super surprising, but it's interesting to hear it from people themselves.
Great people.
Um,
Yeah, of course.
so then I asked the AI to, based on frequency, list out the top values and emotions: warmth, family, quality, comfort. So those are the emotions I'm looking to evoke from a brand. Um, and then
Mm-hmm.
I went and I picked a random tea brand that was selling on Amazon, Highwear, which some people may have seen this. And I
Yeah.
tested their logos against some AI generated logos that I just use a website
Mm.
to generate some AI logos. And the original one is actually option A, and it lost pretty badly against these three other
Wow.
logos that I generated. Um,
Yeah.
and then if you ask the AI what emotions were people looking for in the winning logo, this is all based off the results. It said people were looking for a logo that conveyed things like warmth and
Mm.
friendliness, and kind of the stuff that we saw reinforced in the previous focus group question. So it's very interesting to kind of take this process to use data to build your brand, to choose your logo, design your logo, and then you're just going to be a lot more confident when you go and actually launch your product. And I suspect if I had a teapot that had this winning logo brand, I wouldn't have so much negative feedback about my branding or
Mm-hmm.
my logo. Whereas if I have the original one, which you'll probably agree doesn't look very great or doesn't really convey like any of those feelings, those emotional feelings, like people are probably going to negatively comment about the logo, and they're going to say like, oh, well,
Wow.
this brand doesn't make sense for
Yeah.
Infinity Bot, right? So
Yeah. Such a clever case study, to be honest, because I bet so many people, if they implement this exercise on their logo today, they will be, maybe they're going to encounter the same scenario. Because, I mean, let's be honest, most of us, when we started on Amazon, most of us did a random logo, we didn't think about all
yes,
these things that we learn down the road as a marketer. And I think, but it's very clever, to be honest, what you're doing, because you're basically taking, for those listening, you're taking your own logo, then you generate some random logos with AI, and then you ask your community around tea lovers which logo is the best, and then you could do a whole rebranding to maybe improve conversions and things like that, which is, yeah, it's amazing.
yeah,
Yeah, very good.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Another way to use this is, say you're trying to figure out how to sell the product that you're selling. So
Okay.
in this case, we're doing
Mm-hmm.
an infusion teapot. So I put up an image and I said, if you were going to pitch someone to buy this glass infusion teapot,
Mm-hmm.
what points would you emphasize? And I targeted tea drinkers. And so really open-ended. I just wanted to see what people were going to focus on. So people said things like, oh, emphasize that it's easy to wash, the size, maybe the elegant design. And so these are things that factors that are gravitating to tea drinkers, right? When they look at this and that they think are important to emphasize. So I asked the AI, like, what are the most important selling points, the top 5 most important selling points? Based on the results, it said 1, transparency, 2, design, 3, quality, functionality, and material.
Nice.
And it actually gives actually wrote them out as bullet points. If you wanted to go and massage those, you could use them on your listing. So this is an interesting way to kind of back into the content by just asking people, because you want your product described the way that your consumers are thinking about it and are thinking about how to buy it. So it's a really nice way to see the content when you don't know where to start.
Yeah, very good. And this AI, just for listeners on all that watching, is this, I guess, included with any kind of poll that we do at the moment, or is specific to specific polls? How is that working at the moment within Pickfu?
Yeah, so right now, because it's new, it's just included with all the polls. So if you just go run a poll, all the AI summary and sentiment are included, and then you could do three questions, prompt-based questions to the results. We're still trying to test it out and see how people are using it. Are they finding value from it? And we're just continuing to iterate on the different AI features.
Good. Yeah. Based from your data, I guess maybe it's limited at the moment, but what do you think, or maybe just from personal experience, this is being used the most from specifically Amazon sellers? Where do you think this AI is being used the most at the moment in terms? Because maybe the listeners and the ones watching say, okay, that's what I need to do first as an Amazon seller. So maybe you can give us some insights about that. Yeah.
Yeah. I would say most people are still doing images, right? So I think most people are using the AI to ask more specifically about a given option. So here I'm showing an example of 3 different main images of a suitcase. It says, if you were shopping on Amazon, which product image appeals to you the most? Actually, this is against UK respondents. You'll see which one wins, right? In this case, option B wins, and you could read through the responses. But sometimes it's just easier to ask, what is it about option B, or what could I still improve about option B, right? Because even though it won, we're always looking to do better. So
you want to make it better.
Exactly. So the AI said, like, well, option B won, but here are a few comments that mentioned things that you can improve. So like, that's awesome, right? Like, we could then take this winner, make it even better. So I would say that this is the most common way that we're seeing people use the AI, just kind of dig even deeper into specific options, or maybe one of the options was theirs and it lost. And so they're trying to understand, like, okay, well, I know option A lost, but like, how can I improve this, or things like that.
Awesome. Okay.
Good. One other interesting one we did want to touch was pricing.
Very interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So this is a kind of a complicated question, and but there's this market research approach called the Van Westendorp pricing test, and what it has you do is asking normally this is 4 different fields, and you ask your respondents what price is too low, a bargain, too expensive, and so high that it would be unreasonable. So kind of like trying to get you to theorize like, the different prices. And so this is the question I asked, for this teapot, please describe your thoughts around these different prices. And so this is, people give all kinds of different responses here. So people write like too low, $10, bargain 20. So like it's a lot of work to then take all this data and analyze it. And so what I did with the AI is I said, all right, I want you to use this model because it's a well-known pricing test. So I said, analyze the open-ended responses to determine the 4 key thresholds of the Van Westendorp pricing model. Then based on the results, give me an optimal price. And so it told me all the buckets: too low, 1 to 12 for this teapot, way too low. 5 to 35 seems like a bargain. 75 seems like it's too expensive. Up to 100 seems unreasonable. The optimal price point is around 20 to 25. And actually, if you go look online, like that is kind of like where the market is settling. So very interesting to do this if you're just starting out, you're not sure how you want to price it. Of course, you're going to look at your competition, but also interesting to see how people are thinking about it, because you can then go back and look at the response and see why they're saying 100 might be too much, or saying why this feels like a bargain at a certain price.
Yeah, and this one, to be honest, I feel is such an important test to do, especially if you are the type of seller, which I bet you have met many of them, that they always say, "Oh, I'm gonna be different because mine is gonna be a premium product. It's gonna be deluxe and all that, right?" And then you actually encounter that even your premium design, when you put a picture of the premium design, people is not willing to pay the premium. It's actually a nice way, like just as you show in the screen for those listening, how even the product that looks premium as the picture you are showing, people is not willing to pay more than, as I can see, 2025. In fact, is saying that the upper limit is 39. So you're thinking 45, 50, that's it, you can't. Yeah.
Cool.
Good, very good. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, yes, I see this tool being so useful. And going back to what I just mentioned before, I think you now combine the best of both worlds, because before we had such an amazing amount of data from Pickfu, but as you say, it was difficult if you did 200 requests to really digest all that down. Now you, on a single button, by putting a question, you have the summary, and I think you have the best thing there, like real data combined with AI that summarize everything in a few seconds. So yeah, it's a game changer. So very good. Well done there.
Thank you.
Awesome. So I think now, to start concluding, I just want to use the last minute or so you can tell us more about how people listening and watching can get started with Pickfu. I know we have also a special promotion going on there, so maybe you can tell us a little bit about that so people can join. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So you can go to pickfu.com and sign up for free. It's always free to create an account. And then you could use the coupon code Ecomcy, just spelled out, and it's 50% off your first bowl. And so you can give that a try. There's never any subscription needed. You could just pay as you go.
Nice.
We recognize people have different testing cadences in their workflow. And then if you ever need any help, definitely reach out on our live chat. We have a very supportive team around the world and in multiple languages as well. We do have customers around the world, so we try to have as much coverage in terms of languages.
Nice.
And as I mentioned before, we're constantly expanding our respondent base to have other countries as well. So if there's countries that we're not in yet, definitely reach out, let us know so we can prioritize it for the future.
Awesome, Justin. Thank you very much. I'm going to make sure to put the coupon down in the description and also the link. And I can't wait to have you again in the future as you guys keep adding, more features and amazing things to Pickfu. Yeah. So it's been a pleasure, Justin. Thank you. And I can't wait to actually meet you next month now in Vegas for I think Alibaba Collaborate, I think it's called. I forgot the name now. And Amazon Accelerate as well. So looking forward to that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for having me.
Have a nice one. Take care.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.